إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our program here on the, believe it or not, it's the evening of the 8th of Ramadan, right? One whole week has passed. So we are we're about 25% there, almost 25% there. Not quite, but almost there. So our program this evening is as follows. We'll have a short reflection here, and the focus, as you know, is on the Focus Iftar series. I'm going to invite Brother Riaz soon. I'm glad to see him in person, but we've been seeing you every day from remote. So it's good to see you in person today. And after the reflection here, we will then continue with Salatul Maghrebain, which will take us to Iftar. We'll break for Iftar, and then we will reconvene here at 7:45 sharp. At 7:25 for Dua Iftitah. And at 7:45, we have our guest speaker, Christopher C.J. Carter. He will be talking about the work that they are doing, bringing education to a remote community in northeast Pakistan, predominantly Shia community, and how they're building leadership capacity over there in terms of making sure that that neglected community is not deprived from education, inshallah. So this is our program, and at 8:45 or so, we'll have the Seed Collective activities. Then we'll end the evening, inshallah. Just a reminder, brothers and sisters, let us actually arrive on time. Let us not, if you want to converse with anybody, then I suggest you go find another place in the center or outside. But in this room, we like to actually maintain everybody's focus. Just a reminder, if children under 13, they are either in a program or they're with a parent. We don't want them to be moving around and be health hazard to themselves or to other people. And I'll say more things later on. But without further ado, let us welcome Brother Riaz with loud salawat. Please welcome salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. It is wonderful to be here again on the 7th of Ramadan. As Brother Jawad said, I can't believe it's been a week already. We're going to continue this series that we started at the beginning of Ramadan, which we're calling Focus Iftar. And the idea of this focus is to bring your attention to a topic that I think surrounds us all, which is the role of technology in our lives. In some instances, this technology really helps us and gets us from point A to point B. No problem, you never get lost on Google Maps. And on the other hand, some parts of the technology can arrest you and keep you immobile, glued to your phone, making you lose attention and focus and so on and so forth. So over the course of the last few days, we've talked about a few things. We've talked about things like how many times you pick up your phone and what that does to your attention. It's over 2,000 times for anyone that missed that session. There you go, 2,600 times. We've talked about things like stressors that teens face and how social media affects them. We've talked about the role of artificial intelligence on creativity and whether that actually helps or hampers creativity. And we've talked about the physical impacts of the use of technology when you have a bump that appears in the back of your neck called tech neck. Today, I think I want to talk about a topic that I think is relevant to most people in this room. Maybe not everyone's graduated to the level that I'm going to talk to you about, which is the role of parenting. There is no single generation of parents in this room that will say that parenting is easy. Is there anyone that will say parenting is easy? Please, I'd love to learn from you. Okay, great. Parenting is damn hard. It's the most rewarding, gratifying thing, but it's also the most difficult thing that we do. In fact, it is so difficult that in 2024, the Surgeon General, the US Surgeon General, which is technically the top doctor in the United States, issued a warning that said being a parent can be dangerous for your mental wellness. This is the same doctor that puts the warning on cigarette packets, right? Saying cigarette smoking can be harmful and injurious to your health. They issued a warning that said being a parent can be bad for your mental wellness. So why did they do that? Why now in 2024 did the Surgeon General decide to do that? And so this was the research that they published, which was Parents Under Pressure. And they said, as part of that research, they said nearly 70% of parents are saying that it is objectively more difficult to raise a family today than it was 20 years ago. So there are people in this room who are, mashallah, have been our grandparents, maybe even great-grandparents, and you might say, oh, it was just as difficult in my time. It's really, really difficult now. But what makes it so difficult? Why is it so incredibly difficult now? And the reason that parents point to is the use of social media and the use of technology. My goodness, the use of social media is making our lives miserable as parents. That's hard. That's hard. So then why we must, this is a question, again, I do this as a profession, so I do this for my living, but you might do this in your own way, which is why in the world do teens use social media so much? Is it just to make life difficult for their parents? Is it just so that the parents can lose their mental well-being? That's not it. That's not it. They're not doing this out of vengeance. They're not trying to create, there's no vendetta. There's no ulterior motive. There are a variety of reasons. There is no one silver bullet here. There are a variety of reasons. The one research that I'm about to share with you illuminates the 4 reasons, all 4 of which are under your control as parents. Okay? Does anyone want to guess what the number 1 reason might be for when teens exhibit problematic internet media use? Basically, a fancy way of saying when teens lose control on social media. What might be the number 1 reason for that? It's in your control. It's not in Meta's control. It's not in Google's control. It's in your control. Any brave soul raise their hand? Say that again? The age 13, so the age thing? Yeah, that's a good guess. That's not the reason why, though. The number 1 reason is parents' screen use. So this is not me standing up here trying to shame you. That is not at all my intention. That is not at all my goal. I am trying to bring to you the research that was done. Just again, this was done in pediatric research in 2024, where they looked at the top 4 reasons why teens exhibit problematic internet media use. And the number 1 reason that they cited was the way that the parents themselves use the internet. So now if you reflect on your own digital use, you might say, yeah, I've used email before, but that's for work. I've been working. It's not like I've been checking Instagram. Or you might say, I'm only catching up on the news. It's not like I'm checking TikTok like the kids today are. I'm only checking news. It's all important stuff. I've got to check the stock value, investments, so on and so forth. Everything that you've been doing over the last several years, that your kids have been observing, quietly observing, has now manifested in the child representing and exhibiting this behavior. So again, I share this with you to share that this power is in your hands. There are certain things in design of these technologies we can cover in a different conversation at a different time, but the power is in your hands. If you really, really feel that parenting is so hard this time because your kids are always on social media or always on video games, the power might be in your own hands. There are a few other reasons which I'm going to cover really quickly. One is the use of screens at mealtime. If you have very young kids, you might be in the habit of handing them an iPad so you can get an easy meal or quiet meal. I hate to break it to you. You want to knock that habit off. That's your number 1 sign that gets the kid into problematic media use. Unfortunately, using of the device by any member of the family at mealtime is considered problematic. Screen time is a reward or punishment. Lots of parents do this. They're like, well, you can have 30 extra minutes if you're really, really good, or you'll get 30 minutes less if you're misbehaving. That use of reward or punishment actually works against you. Again, if I had more time, I'd explain as to why that might be the case, but that's sort of things that are working against you. And finally, the last reason, which is the use of screens at bedtime. Lots of parents tell me that this is their time to relax. This is their time to unwind. This is their time to catch up on the day's happening. It's hurting your sleep. It's making a poor role model for your kids. So again, my interest in bringing these topics to you in the course of Ramadan is for you to reflect. Is for you to reflect and to see and have the dialogue in your own family to see how you might adjust your own digital habits as a way of helping your child and your kids adopt better digital habits. With that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions. I know we have a couple minutes extra to go, so I'll take any questions that may have come up. Yes, please.
Sisters and brothers, I mean, look, it's a very small time we have. If you want to have a conversation, I request you to please go to the other side or outside. If you have young kids who cannot pay attention, let's be respectful, okay? Thank you.
So your question was, what was the methodology for how they collected the data set? Yeah, it really is. So I wish I could be, I will take that as a follow-up and get back to you on the methodology that they use. I feel like I have it here, but maybe it's the past that has made me forget the details. But this was published in a credible journal. So this was not just survey data, I know that. There was some observational data here as well. And it was longitudinal, so it was over a period of time. But I don't have all the facts to give you today. Other questions? Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. I'll repeat the question for the people online, which is, what do you do if you want to replace the bedroom screen use, the stuff that you want to just use before you unwind? The one thing I coach adults is to think about the nighttime as the beginning of the next day. So you have an opportunity to say, what am I going to do tomorrow? If you can do reflection, if you can use that time to reflect on what your day was and what your day will be, I think you'll be much better served than if you just read the news, which is going to change in 15 seconds again anyways. I think we have time for one more question, maybe. Okay, I think we are out of time. Maybe we'll have a pause of a few seconds before we transition into Adhan.
Brother Riaz, thank you very much for all your efforts. I know it takes a lot of time for you to put the content together, to have a very focused, on-the-point presentation. Brothers and sisters, before we continue here with the Adhan, I just want to let you know that there's an extensive program tonight. After Iftar, we will have duas at 7:25, 7:45. Our guest speaker will be speaking about education in northwest or northeast Pakistan, what they're doing to build a capacity. And then after that, at 8:45, will be seed collective activities. And again, a reminder that, brothers, that every activity has been planned carefully many months in advance, right, for us to be most impactful. So in the time when we are in this prayer hall, we request that you refrain from conversation. If you want to have a conversation, we welcome you to go to another part of the center or outside and have your conversations, right? But in this room, when the presentation is going on, let us be respectful. I can see people still conversing here. Is Ayun I'm speaking, right? So let us be respectful to say, okay, we're here for a very focused time. You'll have plenty of time afterwards or later. If you have younger children, please, under 13, they are either with you or they are in a program. We don't want them to be running around, be a health hazard or safety hazard to themselves or to other people or to the property. And later on, we'll give you more updates on what's going on after it's 8:45 because we are out of time right now. Okay, with this, we will actually continue with the Adhan for Maghrebain, and we'll break for Maghrib, Iftar after Maghrebain prayers, and reconvene here at 7:25, inshallah, for Dua Iftitah. Sallu ala Nabi. अज़ान करूँ अज़ान करूँ Okay. Okay.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على محمد وآله وسلم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأمل حي على خير الأمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله إن الصلاة ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم ولا يحض ولا طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب ربي ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته الله أكبر Subhanallah, 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 Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamdi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, 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 Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdih. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, 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 Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdi Rabbi salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. يا ولي العافية نسألك العافية عافية الدنيا والآخرة. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر. السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
استغفر الله
الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم
الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور. وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه عليه. وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من ألف شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن علي وادخل الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Sister, brothers, we just need a couple minutes of your attention. Pakan has an announcement to make here. He's trying to explain the initiative that started last week, which is going to require a cultural change. So there was some kind of antibody reaction to it. So he's going to explain what the motivation is.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Now, last week we created a rule where we wanted everyone to bring their own cups for water and tea. Now, the reason behind this is because there has been multiple studies that have proven that water and hot water with the plastic cups that we used to serve has increased the chance of having cancer, because they have microplastics inside of them. So we advise you to please during the next weeks and tomorrow, we would like you to bring your own cups for tea and water and hot water and really anything.
But if somebody forgets to bring a cup, what will happen?
We will also be charging. We would, well, not charging. We're selling a few cups, and we would like for you, every time you forget your cup and you have to get a plastic one, we'd like you to pay $1 in donation to our group. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody, or?
Well, I think if you have any questions, reservations, you want to understand, talk to Pakan, and he will actually set you straight. And by the way, he's not alone. He's working with a team. They came to me and they said this. I mean, it's all about saving the environment. You know, this plastic film, when you put hot water, you ingest that thing. It could be cancerous, right? So using metal cups or whatever glass cups is probably safer, right? It's been done for centuries, okay? So it's a good thing to do. And I think it's going to take some time for us all to shift. I may myself forget to bring it, right? So, you know, I'll be maybe guilty. But the trade, and by the way, they also have cups for sale, right? You've got cups for sale. So if you don't have a cup, they will sell you one nice, beautiful mug for $5. Right? Is that right? You have them or not? Okay, they are popular, so they are running out. So if you have anybody, if you have a few, get it before they run out again. Okay, thank you. And sisters, brothers, just a reminder, when we break after Isha, please let us all remain seated until we have finished completely here, and then go. When you go, if you have children under 13, please keep them with you. There's nobody minding them. You are minding them. You are a parent. If you are a volunteer, don't volunteer. Volunteer to take care of your child. Please have them sit down with you, eat the meal with you until you are finished and they are finished. And we're going to start here sharp at 7:25, okay? Please. There's no running around. The children have to be either with you or in a program. And there's no program going on right now other than iftar. So they'll be with you, or they are having, that's it, they'll be with you right now until 7:25. Brother Hazza, you work for Amazon by any chance? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله إن الصلاة ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين وزيتون وتور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقوم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا ولي العافية نسألك العافية عافية الدنيا والآخرة. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. السلام عليكم.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم ادخل على أهل القبور السرور.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم أغني كل فقير.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم أشبع كل جائع.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم اكسو كل عريان.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم اقض دين كل مدين.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم رد كل غريب.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم فك كل أسير.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم اشف كل مريض.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Sisters, brothers, on this auspicious evening of Ramadan, let us remember all those people who are in difficult situations around the world, those who are in conflict zones, in refugee camps, those who have been impacted by natural climate changes, those people who are in hospital at home recovering, our sister Anisa who is in the hospital. We also request for sister Mayeda and brother Mansour's mom, and all those people who are enduring economic hardship. May Allah bring them relief, inshallah, through all our collective efforts. All together, please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul muhtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul muhtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul muhtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Sisters and brothers, let us remember all our friends and family members who are no longer with us, and request to remember brother Jalal Nabawi Nijad who passed away recently, and also the marhumeens of those who have supported our Muharram Ramadan programs and the iftar tonight. Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميع رحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي بن حسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباكر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الحادي والحسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا صاحب الأسر والزمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن وخليفة الرحمن إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك جميع رحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توأا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Sisters and brothers, we will resume here with Dua Iftitah at 7:25 sharp, and our guest speaker at 7:45. And the guest speaker is a very interesting person. He's going to have lots of beautiful stories to tell you from Baltistan, Pakistan, inshallah. Sallu ala Nabi. I don't know on a case.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام، صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام، واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأغل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أغلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وسفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على غبيه عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أتمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من نجابتك فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستانسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت في إليك فإن أبت عني أتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أبت عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلم أرى مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي وأتبغض إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن اليد تتولى عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طول عناته في قذبه وهو قادر على ما يريد الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذو الجلال والإكرام والفضل والعنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا ظهير يعضده قهر بعزته الأعزة وتواضع لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصي ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونغة قد أراني فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك اللهم صل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووسيع رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة اللهم صل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والغائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والغادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة اللهم ما
عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به سدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا واعزز به ذلتنا واغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيض به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجح به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وأعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا واعتنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين اشف به صدورنا واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إلى الحق آمين اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا صل على محمد وآل محمد وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صل على النبي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فادخلنا وفي علين فارفعنا وبكأس من معين من عين سلسبيل فاسقنا ومن الحور العين برحمتك فزوجنا ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فأخدمنا ومن ثمار الجنة ولحوم الطير فأطعمنا ومن ثياب السندس والحرير والاستبرق فألبسنا وليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا وفي جهنم فلا تغلنا وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تبتلنا ومن الزقوم والذريع فلا تطعمنا ومع الشياطين فلا تجعلنا وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تكببنا ومن ثياب النار وسرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحق لا إله إلا أنت فنجنا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبني من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم المكفر عن سيئاتهم وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه فلك قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي وقف السائلون ببابك ولا ذا الفقراء بجنابك فوقفت سفينة المساكين على ساحل بحر جودك وكرمك يرجون الجواز إلى ساحة رحمتك ونعمتك. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم في هذا الشهر الشريف إلا لمن أخلص لك في صيامه وقيامه فمن للمذنب المقصر إذا غرق في بحر ذنوبه وآثامه. إلهي إن كنت لا ترحم إلا المطيعين فمن للآسين وإن كنت لا تقبل إلا من العاملين فمن للمغسرين. إلهي ربح الصائمون وفاز القائمون ونجا المخلصون ونحن عبيدك المذنبون فارحمنا برحمتك واعتقنا من النار بعفوك يا كريم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. صل على النبي.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
I think we're doing pretty good for time. This is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're about 3 minutes behind. That's not bad. So our next item here is to talk about some development work that's going on in Pakistan. You know, one of the areas in Pakistan that is neglected is on the eastern side, northeastern side, near Kashmir. And the schools are few and far between. People are not getting the resources from the central government that they should. and they are not able to advocate for what they do. And by the way, that area is largely populated by the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So, and they're very devoted people. I'm so fortunate that with Dr. Rahat Asfar, I think Dr. Rahat Hussein or something, Rahat Hussein, is it, or Ahmad? Dr. Rahat, anyway. She's a dermatologist. She brought us, last year she spoke here and she introduced this organization called ICRA to us. Through that, I came in contact with Christopher Carter. Christopher is dedicated his career to strengthening education, resilience, and opportunity in mountain and indigenous communities, right? He actually has traveled all the way from the German village. What is it called? Leavenworth, right? Yes. And you know, it's quite a hike for him. So I'm really very excited to hear what he has to present. He has actually been there several times. And by the way, to go to Skardu is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted, right? You know, if you go by road, it's treacherous. You got narrow valley passes, and if you go by plane, the plane may not be able to land because of the climate conditions. So you know, it's so encouraging, so inspiring to see Americans, instead of sending bombs, right? They're actually going out there and building educational infrastructure in Pakistan. So without further ado, please welcome him with loud salawat. And I think he's dressed up like a Baltistani also today. Where's your hat, man?
It's GM has it.
Here we go.
Wonderful.
And you know, this is just click on this right and left.
Amazing. Amazing. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. So grateful to be with you all here on Duma and during Ramadan. And here is an opportunity to share our collective work. We receive a lot of support from the Seattle community. And we're excited to share what our newest work is. And so I will give you a little perspective for those of you who are looking at careers. I wanted to share a little bit about my experience as an urban and regional planner and what that looks like in the context of working in the headwaters in the Karakoram Mountains of Pakistan. This is where we work. This is the Karakoram. And I'll just share a little bit about how we feel the best investment is building local leaders. And so my beginnings also started in the mountains. I grew up in the mountains of Montana, and I've been working with brothers and sisters around the world in these headwaters communities for more than a decade as a professional. Went to planning school at University of British Columbia, and have been working with ICRA Fund for a decade, and now in Pakistan and Gilgit-Baltistan now for 3 seasons. How do I press? Some of our newest don't work.
मेरे देश में नहीं इससे भी मेरे देश में नहीं इससे भी कोई खूबसूरत सरजमी ये मेरा गिलगित बल्तिस्तान जन्नत से बढ़कर है हंसी.
So I'm one of many. I'm one of 2 American on a staff of more than 20 in Baltistan. And I just want to welcome you to the rooftop of the world. As many of you from the region may know, this is home to all of the world's 8,000-meter peaks up in the Karakoram. And it's the headwaters of the country. It's the Indus River, and so vital for the nation and for agriculture and the whole region. At ICRA Fund, we've been working on this for 14 years now, and just really looking at how when we invest in people, especially girls and families, we see an incredible change over time. And so we've seen this over the last 14 years. We've been collecting close data for 10 years, and we've seen areas go from no students in school to thousands. So right now we have over 4,000 students in school, and we're building really from the ground up, equipping teachers and our technical staff on the ground to run programs and projects that have a significant impact on the region. Pakistan has some issues with education, as many of us know. Sadly, it's number 2 for out-of-school children. And in specifically some of these rural areas, it's incredibly high. 22.5 million out of school children, 13% of girls reach the 9th grade. That is even lower in the area where we work in Baltistan. Those of you who've been to Pakistan or been to the region, you're aware of where Gilgit-Baltistan is located. We work in the southern portion of Gilgit-Baltistan, Azad-Kashmir region. And as our brother Jawad Khaki mentioned, this is a predominantly Shia region. This is a headwaters region and also very remote and underserved. Few of these regions receive government support for education. It's last on the list for infrastructure and programs. It's also really public education systems are what makes the biggest difference in the life of people in the mountain regions. If the government wins in public schools, we win as those who care about human development. We work in 3 major areas. Those of you who've been to Skardu, you know the Indus River comes through here. We work in the remote valleys of Basha, K2's up here, and then Hushay to the east, and then Basho to the west. And in some of our most densely populated areas, in this valley alone, we have 3,000 students in school, and we're working on significant programs and infrastructure projects. What we found over the last decade is that software outlasts hardware every single time. And so by investing in people, specifically local leaders, we can have a lasting impact. So the thing I want to share tonight is really our roots. Those of you who may have met Ghulam Muhammad, this is a picture of him 15 years ago up in the high Basha Valley. This is the soul of our operation, community organizing at the ground level. And so when Ghulam Muhammad was working on his work in political science and sociology, he realized that when we do father support groups, mother support groups, we bring the vision and we bring that community capital in. And that's really the backbone of what we do. This is our team in action. This is about a half dozen of our technical staff sitting with mothers and fathers on the pasture next to our school in Basho. We're a grassroots organization. We don't have a big office in the United States. We invest in our staff. And so what we realize is if we equip our father leaders and mother leaders and headmasters, this has a tremendous impact on the region. This is our team in Baltistan. As I mentioned, just 2 of us in the US, 16 technical staff, and we pay the salaries of 109 public school teachers. Our board is Pakistani or has spent significant time in Baltistan. And this is what we do. This is the power of our team. We're on the ground, we're listening, making sure that that voice is informing the planning that we do. The current project that we're looking at expanding over the last 1 year and now the 2 years ahead is now equipping our regional leaders with technical tools to track data, to make proposals to the government so that they have a high impact in their work. So we want to also honor that many of these leaders have significant indigenous local knowledge, but when paired with technical skills, it's an incredible toolkit. Many people are asked how we funded, individual donors. This is there to revisit. Vast majority, more than 85%, goes to our programs and our staff on the ground. So this is a classic planning table for us. So we have fathers from 2 different regions here visioning for their school, how to improve their school every year. Both. Yeah. Actually, Haji Rasul has, he's a grandfather. So this new program is called Balti Led, the Balti Area Leadership for Transformative Implementation in Local Education System Development. So what we're doing is we're engaging 180 regional leaders, getting their needs, and then we pared it down to 30 for a comprehensive technical training over 3 years. And so we're really excited about this because we've seen that when we increase that local leadership capacity, we have incredible partners, and then we can also increase government accountability in these really rural areas, specifically with the minority population. The key thing here is we don't want to make this just work in Baltistan. We would love to create an open source blueprint that anyone who's an organizer or has a vision in another region can share this approach, use their values, use their tools, and have a high impact. So that's our dream over the next few years. And this is what it looks like in action. This is my peer, Bashir Ahmed. He's doing a school improvement plan with indicators. Much of us who work in strategic planning, this makes us very exciting. makes us very excited. And what we're really trying to do is build that local power to unlock local visions and receive those blessings at the local level. This is straight on what they look like. Now we have 20 schools who are building technical annual plans for how they improve their schools. And now, this last year, we've really been trying to get into more of a structured approach, which has been really exciting. One of the key things for some of us who are planning nerds, data nerds, is, well, what's the data? Where do we start? What's the baseline? We've ran into in these rural areas that we are in a data desert. But as in partnership with our leaders, we're starting to track things at the school level. This is an area that doesn't even have comprehensive census data. So for us, this is a huge, huge problem as planners and as data scientists. But what's been really exciting is the desire and the demand to gather data to track our impact. And so over the last year, we've gotten into really excellent discussions with our mother and father support groups and our headmasters around where do we want to build, how do we protect students on their way to school. So these are risk maps that we did using CalTopo and slope assessments, and then oral histories around where people have lost family members, students on the way to school. So we're really building these baselines with local leaders to situate infrastructure, to make sure we're building complete education systems that don't expose children to risk. Everywhere where you see orange on here has been a fatality, an injury, or a major accident in between these human settlements. So it's a severe landscape. We did do a baseline in the last year that allowed us to understand what local leaders need. That was really exciting. It was the first baseline for us, and the demands are clear. People want to learn about policymaking and data, as well as how do we do proposals to the government? How do we ask for infrastructure projects and oversee them to hold that to account? Right now, because of the data work we've done with our local leaders, we realized we're in the beginning of a groundswell. 10 years ago, when there weren't students in school, this was a different reality. Now, what we're seeing monthly is the largest cohorts of students in history, and specifically girls, to be entering the higher secondary school. This is really exciting, but it also brings many challenges, both to our programs, to the public schools, and even the learning spaces. So because of this work, we're having really advanced conversations with our local leaders. It's not just, hey, we want to build a school. We're hearing, we have more than 100 girls finishing 9th grade. What are we going to do? And so the level of conversations and strategy that we're able to share has been really empowering as a planner and as a partner to say, this is what happens when we equip people with the skills to work with data into a strategic plan. This is sort of some key takeaways from our leaders. Collaboration's critical. They really want to make sure that we're doing multi-stakeholder work, we're holding the government to account. Engaging parents. These are first-generation students, so making sure that we're supporting the parents around reading and why these particular parts of school are important. You end up with those really beautiful sort of support systems around young students when the parents are really supportive at home. And critical resources, making sure that we're matching that huge cohort that's entering the higher secondary school with the resources that they need to thrive. This is the year ahead. We're in the middle of a 3-year push with these 30 leaders. It's so exciting. And of course, everyone here is welcome to join us in Baltistan. We're working on our school improvement plans. We'll be doing technical trainings this springtime. And as a planner personally, it means a lot when we choose to build the local leadership. It's a lot of times in international development, there's this talk around capacity building, but what's been really special is to start from the ground up and design programs that meet the needs. So the next year is chock full of that, and beginning to document our last 10 years as an organization into a blueprint that we can share with the world. So the next year ahead, there'll be some smiley photos, there'll be some snacks and some nice pictures, but there'll also be a lot of technical work. This is our work with our engineering team and planning team looking at earthquake resilient design, and then also our demographics work that we're doing every month. As I mentioned, the conversations and the strategy that we're having in these villages is really, really exciting to share with you all. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning, is hearing Village Education Committee members say, our vision is to cultivate a generation enriched with knowledge unavailable to past generations. We wish to popularize education as the foundation of progress. With Allah's guidance, education standards will rise. These are the most remote, underserved communities of the region, and their vision is clear. And with the skills, I strongly feel, inshallah, we'll reach those dreams. So this is us at the high level. We believe if girls have an education, they'll improve life for themselves and their families. If communities educate their girls, they will lift themselves out of poverty. And we're already seeing that over the last 10 years. Better crops, less infection, less infant mortality. And if a nation educates all children, it will thrive. So I want to finish with a film, and then would love to have a conversation and answer any questions that you all might have.
वो ना होने के बराबर था। तो यहाँ की ज़िंदगी दुश्वार कठिन ज़िंदगी है। मुसलमान मर्द औरत का वो तस्वुर भी हुजूर पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने ख़त्म किया।
So on behalf of our whole team from Baltistan, we just want to thank you for listening and joining all of this work that we're collectively doing. And warm thanks to the organizers and the Imam Center. It's just been a joy to be here tonight. So wanted to open the floor to a conversation.
Thank you, Chris, for coming today. CJ, I love our speakers because they're right on time. None of excuses. I don't have enough time. He covered exactly in 1 minute less than it was given to him. Okay. So I have to get things started, I have a couple questions, right? Number one, Malala Yousafzai, right? Is she giving you any help?
Not currently.
Yeah, so that people can see you there.
Yeah, not currently. Our founder and our board have engaged with her. She's focused on Salat and some of the areas of KPK.
But have you asked her?
I'm not involved in development very much. I haven't. It's a great idea.
Yeah, and the second question I have is that, basically, whenever you have foreigners working, a white-skinned guy working in Pakistan, right? There's always suspicion that you are working with the CIA.
I know, it's annoying.
Right? So how are you dealing with that?
Well, I mean, the credit goes to Ghulam Muhammad Saab, who you saw just this morning. He called me. He's like, ISS or ISI called me again, and it's your sixth trip, and I have to answer them every time. It's annoying to our team, but we try to make sure we're well organized. The more we travel, the less of a problem it is. Yeah.
Further questions here, if anybody? We'll come back in a minute. Okay. Just make sure that, sister, you come here because we have speak close.
Speak close. Here, is it good? Okay. Thank you, Chris. What you do is amazing. Okay. So I'm just going to follow with Brother Jawad's comment. So I covered Middle East and the region as a foreign correspondent for BBC and Democracy Now! So I really want to have a convincing answer about what's it for you and why do you do this and how could you, why didn't you do this in the US?
Yeah, that's a
And
really, okay, please.
what is it? So what is it that you're trying to achieve? I want a convincing answer.
Sure. Yeah. I've been working on this in the United States for a decade. I worked for the Skapi Pakani and Siksikaitsatapi, so the indigenous government in Blackfeet, the Blackfoot Confederacy and the Blackfeet Nation for a decade. I believe this work is universal. I believe that these are our brothers and sisters, these are our uncles and aunties. And this work was specifically spurred by Dr. Genevieve Walsh. She was a mentor of mine in undergraduate studies. But as a kid who's from a mountain region, who has dealt with some of these same problems growing up, I don't see some of these issues as that different than what I saw growing up. And I see as a professional, it's our job to apply ourselves in the context where we can be very effective. So for me, I didn't dream of working in Pakistan. The call came from my peers in Pakistan, and I was very critical. I didn't get into I specifically walked away from doing international development work a decade ago, but it wasn't until 3 or 4 years ago when the team in Skardu said, we want to build a team of engineers and planners in Skardu. Will you join the team? And I said, only if you're okay with that. But your question is important, is the why. I believe that we're walking each other home. Showing up for each other in the way that we know best is a way of taking care of each other. And as a mountain kid, the rest of my peer are also mountain kids. I really feel like we can work together to create really impactful programs, systems, and change. It happens to be in Pakistan, but I've felt very close to my peers and the cause and the way they walk in the world. So I'm grateful to just collaborate as a professional.
Not getting money from USAID, I take it.
100% zero. That's actually been a big issue for us. Is we don't accept U.S. development aid.
As Shia, we pay khums, to our imams, mustahids. And I'm wondering, have you asked their offices for funding specifically because of the fact that you're supporting, the Shia of this community? I'm asking very specifically because, I've heard a few times now about this community, the ones in Parnachar and stuff like that. So that's what I'm wanting to know.
That's an excellent question. That's actually probably the best question for our country director, Ghulam Mohammed Saab. He's very active and would be the best.
This is a very good question. If I can respond to that, right? I think if you look at the work that they're doing, right, and if they're transparent, 100% transparency, and you can track them, I think that basically the question really is that you have to make a decision, because a lot of Shia people say you don't need to get Ayatollah's blessing to use the same as Sadat, for example, right? But I think your point you're saying is very good, right? I think this is something we should take it up with the ulama. Take it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I say we, because I'm supporting them, right? I mean, so I'm kind of already bought in with what they're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a huge question. We see some strong religious support in the hospitals in the cities. The biggest thing is there are very few aid organizations that are even allowed to operate in these border areas, and so being able to receive that support would be really powerful and a great idea. But yeah.
It's working.
I got you. Yeah.
I'm from Pakistan, born in Pakistan. I actually
Salat.
I have gone to that area multiple times. Talked to Genevieve Walsh several times. Is she still doing it? But Rahat Afsar, the board president, was saying she wants to retire. Those two key females are there or not?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, they're there all day, every day. Rahat's the chair of our board. Genevieve. I mean, the great thing with this work is we're always bringing up the generation below, our understudies. And so we have multiple senior female staff that we'd like to see step into leadership roles. And same thing on our board. We're always looking to build that knowledge transfer. But both of those individuals are engaged 100%. Yeah, they're incredible.
In fact, I think a couple of months ago, I did have dinner with Rahat at Maghrebain. And I learned there were 2 Baltistani people here, right, in our communities, right? And we can probably learn more from them, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Christopher. I know we talked about this in the hallway earlier, but it'd be great to explain it to everybody. Volunteer opportunities for people that are interested. And I guess this is a kind of a two-part unrelated question. What was the hardest thing you experienced starting up this program?
That one's pretty easy. I wasn't involved at the startup in the way that Ghulam Muhammad and Dr. Walsh were. They had a very difficult first few years, and it was only because of the strength of our regional team that we're here today. So again, I'm just one voice of a collective of many in Baltistan. They are the ones that the credit goes to. Volunteers, yes. One of the key things we're finding now that we're starting to scholarship our students beyond higher secondary school is having career mentors. So if you're in a field, if you're in neuroscience or engineering, we want to make sure that we have a global collective of support. And so volunteering in there is very good. Come visit us, please. But I think one of the most powerful things we can do, as any of us can testify in our career, is having those key folks who help you wayfind. So please reach out to us if you want to be involved. You can contribute your skills and knowledge to our generation. We have over 100 scholarship students who are in college and in masters. We have 3 who are going for their MD CAT this week in Islamabad. So this is like this really exciting moment where if we have a background, we can support a generation as they navigate. So many ways to show support and to volunteer. Just send us an email. We're a small team, so we'll get back to you.
If I can add to that, right? I mean, this afternoon's khutbah, I talked about Quran, and one of the things I talked about is Quran is Iqra, read, right? So if you really want to ponder, read the Quran, understand the Quran, and then act on the Quran, this is the best thing to actually enable girls who are not served by the government to be able to read. This could be your resolution for Ramadan, and they want to. I'm not sure how to go to Skardu with him or not, you know, but it's kind of, it stretches roots. But I think it's a great opportunity for our youth. You know, sometimes there are exchange programs for the high school kids. Right? Are you working with any high school things?
Yeah, we have a pen pal program between the two. And so we're partnering elementary schools and secondary schools to connect students.
Are there opportunities for high schoolers to go visit in the summer?
In Pakistan. We haven't.
In Baltistan.
We haven't done that yet. That's a really good idea. I think, like anything, exchange is so powerful.
When my children were young, we sent them to, you know, who's this Buddhist monk over there, Dharamsala, right? And they spent a couple of months over there. Beautiful. So that could be a good experience for them. Anyway,
yeah, we had some of our key supporters come spend a week or 2 with us and our board members, and for the whole family, it was transformative.
I mean, you know, what they can do is they can help them learn English or math or whatever it is. That's what they can do.
That would be a blessing, yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
We have Amjad.
This is Amjad. I think we spoke a lot. One of the questions I have for you is what is the most effective method that you found to engage the community, like in terms of like collaboration and bring out new ideas, like just to get them thinking, like what method do you think works best?
I showed that picture of Ghulam Muhammad 15 years ago because this is the root. Community organizing and bringing the folks together in a small space to talk about vision. That's big. And what we found is bringing that with a little bit of data, it can be incredibly productive. So that it's, instead of being reactive, we're really bringing that really incredible space to vision and strategize. So we found that sitting, listening, and then bringing some insights can lead to some really profound outcomes. We're catching things earlier, so we're not just putting out fires like large wave dropouts or school problems. We're catching things early by continuing to sit, to talk, and to look at what our monitoring systems are doing. So, yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Looks like you're all confused, not interested, amazed, out of words. Sister Sarah, was he convincing or not? Speak.
Yeah, please.
This is your chance, right? Last week I didn't have time, so today we have time, so you've got.
Okay, here's, so during Obama administration, they really wanted to find Osama. And then they used people on the ground,
Yes.
like activists to really pinpoint where the area. So all I'm thinking right now, and again, apologies, but I'm in my really
Please.
reporter
Yeah.
mind, but all I'm thinking is how the data that you're using and the information that you're producing is not going to be misused by the U.S. government or by the U.S. entity,
Yeah.
you know,
Or the Pakistan.
or Pakistan government.
Right.
But more or less because we do not have a good tracking record of, here's the thing, U.S. is a bad enemy and worse friend.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. There's
this
an old
all
saying from
goes in my
Kissinger.
mind
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, the data that we use is public. The public school data is public. The internal data that we are not publishing or sharing with anyone except for our community partners. We have a memorandum of understanding with the regional government, but we have no data sharing system outside of ourselves. We're very rudimentary. We're in year 3 of tracking like real-time data, and we're barely even able to create dashboards for ourselves. But it's a critical concern, right? It's security, and also security for our students and their families. It's a big question because there's the state and there's international actors, but there's also like, I worry about my staff when they travel, when they drive through Chilas, when they drive through KPK. I worry about their safety. And so I think about, it's not just the safety of our students in the communities, it's the safety of our staff too. And so right now we don't share data openly with, the only thing we share with like government is our blueprints for the schools, because we hand those over to them. So they have to operate them, or we're doing expansions. But that's the only time we're in paper, we're sharing documents with them. But it's a big concern. We don't want to cause any harm, right? Like that's a huge question. So I appreciate that. And
Yeah, I think it's not so much the data that you share. It's really the question is data sovereignty and governance, right? So U.S. government has access to all the data you got, so they could use it.
Right.
Right. Now the question is that will they abuse it or not? I think we got a lot of data here already.
Yeah.
Right.
One more question for you is how can we take like for example like what you're doing and also apply it let's say countries that like we grew up in as well, like Iraq or like other places, US or I mean for people, and I know there's a bunch of cultures here and like communities all around the world just involved just within this location or other places too. Like what do you think is like the best way to like apply and help communities that that we're involved with?
That's an incredible question, and I'd like to have a tea this fall because we're starting to map out the sort of the backbone to what we've been doing the last 10 years. And I think the key thing is being basically documenting the backbone of what are the foundations, but then also where are we doing values-informed work? Because in those areas, we would be able to say, okay, you want to work in Tanzania, or you want to work in Syria, or you want to work in Iraq or Iran, you can adapt. And so what I'd like to do, not so different than like Partners in Health or some of these other organizations, and say, here are some best practices that worked really well for the way we organize, but you might need to tweak, but here are sort of the pillars of what's worked for us for the last decade in a rural area. So I think that comes from having the documents, but I think it also comes from communities of practice. So if people are working, making sure that we're connected and sharing best practices, sharing pro tips to say, we needed to adapt it like this. Here's what worked for us. And so that component of like peer-to-peer learning is so important with knowledge translation or just getting the best practices across regions. And I think I see it as an exercise in leadership, being connected and talking about our work across regions and to share those key learnings. So two-parted.
What I would say, one of the things on what your comment was that it's very important that you don't reinvent the wheel. So I mentioned to you before, Pratham organization in India. Now I know there's sensitivities about using Indian data in Pakistan, but I would say the fact that you're in the US, you may want to use a lot of the processes and the insight that Pratham has developed in bringing education to millions. Like, like for example, in UP to 220 million kids, right?
Yeah, and they made all of their learning resources digital and to be able to translate it between languages. And as soon as it gets into that format, we can even do it into our indigenous languages. So, that piece, that puzzle piece coming in with the rural organizing or into the ways of holding the government accountable to build public infrastructure for education. Like, what an incredible meeting of puzzle pieces, right? So, yeah. There's one more question, or a few.
No, you have to come here forward because of the.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
One question I had was, how do you make sure that the data you gather isn't biased? I know you showed a map of like all different numbers that was like in blue, different shades of blue.
This one or this one?
Yeah, this one.
This is the census, 2017, the most recent. It's a
Okay.
10-year
So
census.
like for other data that you gather, how do you make sure that it's not biased, or how do you make sure that the data you have has the least amount of bias in it? That was it.
No, and these are all great questions. For us locally, when we look at a data set, well, this one, the sample's too small to be robust, but it's the only data we have, so that's geospatial. For data like this, this is based on a whole school every month, and that's a core suite of indicators, say 20 across like attendance, matriculation, dropout, you name it. So these ones are fairly robust. They're big enough that I feel really confident, and that's why we've been using them for forecasting. And so these are the ones that I feel like more confident in. The other ones are too small. But when you zoom out, all of the sample sizes are really small. But when we're establishing a baseline, as a planner, I'm saying a little bit of something's better than nothing. And so for the leadership one, that was the same thing. We had our areas where we know we work. If we can do some sort of stratification across these areas, so we had like 180 responses, most of them from Basha, which is great because we support hundreds of teachers and thousands of students. Geospatially, that felt okay to be able to look at. We had enough samples that would create a baseline that we can improve on. I think a lot of it's tracking that participation over time to say, okay, can we get this to the point where we feel like it's robust enough of a sample, it's stratified, it's randomized. We're not quite at that level, and it takes a lot of resources. And so as a planner, I often look at snowball sampling, I look at like simple stratified, but at a certain level, we're just not there yet. And so we've been trying to start gathering data in a way that we can do with our field staff, in a way that we can replicate. So with this specific leadership survey, we're gonna run it every year. But we're able to do it in a month. And with our team, we could handle the data in-house to say, okay, are things changing? Do people feel more confident? And so forth. So it's a huge question. It really feels on the data side that we're creating systems, some of it for the first time, or supporting the government to get to a place where their big question marks up in these areas are not as serious. Like no data at all. We work in both those provinces. This is the line of control. Azad Kashmir, Leh, Indian border, Siachen. A majority of the areas we work doesn't have any census data. And so baby steps is my, yeah. We have 2. Yeah, how many of our staff is Pakistani and how many are American? This is we have just 2 of us are US. And so we have, 16 technical staff plus 2 professional drivers because the roads are so scary. We just keep professional drivers on staff. And then 109, that was this fall, we'll be expanding. So we pay the salaries of teachers, that we call them ICRA fund teachers, but they work in public schools. So yeah, we're more than 130 total, just 2 of us that are American.
So one, Chris, if you can talk about, when it comes to charitable giving, people have an easy time to feed a hungry stomach or to build a school, right?
Right.
But they have a hard time to build the soft skills. So,
So
can
true.
you elaborate on the kind of challenges you face? Why is it so important to do what you're doing?
I think there's a philosophical depth to that question that a lot of us understand in the professional sense, right? If you buy a nice computer, or if you put food on the table once, it's exciting for a moment. It feels good. The chemicals are flowing. But when you get to see change over time and you see people growing to become leaders, or you see major indicators changing, it's huge. Like, this is the stuff that Bill Gates and friends have been doing. They're seeing infection rates dropping. They're seeing these major things happen. When you invest in something over time, you get to participate in that change. And so as a planner, I think to myself, what's the biggest bang for your buck? And for me, hands down, it's building people and to be able to watch what they do over time to change the region. So I think there's nothing more compelling about deep capacity building. And I see it in our communities when we're able to build. We're in a leadership crisis globally. So when we're building people who can lead a region or lead their community or their village, for me, that's the biggest ROI. If I was a donor, I would be supporting other peer organizations that are building that deep capacity to lead. As we all see, a leader makes a huge difference in any organization. So, yeah, one in the back.
The situation of a rural community is very different than an urban community. How do you change your curriculum so that it befits the needs of a mountainous rural population?
That's an excellent question. In our context, the public schools get the national curriculum. And so what we found is it can be challenging in a few different ways. The first one, Urdu is the second language. So we have Shina and Balti and all these beautiful tribal languages and cultures. So they're getting a national curriculum. But we're also finding that we need to supplement it. And sometimes students need additional support to feel confident to navigate a science curriculum. So in our context, we've been building additional support for science labs, and so forth, science teachers, to make sure that students can stay up to pace with like a national curriculum. Generally, in our context, we're playing a supplementary to make sure that our rural populations can stay up to bar, and they're doing an amazing job. We have some of the highest test scores in the districts for that, and that's been a big goal of ours, is to make sure the rural kids don't slide. That's the flip side. We're not really seeing rural-specific curriculum. We're just trying to make sure that the rural students in these areas can stay up to pace, so that when they do go to pre-med, or they can hit the ground running. So we'll do summer tutoring, English tutoring, public speaking stuff, so that when they get to higher secondary, college, and masters, they're staying up to pace with their peers. Yeah.
So you've got some goodies here. You want to talk more there?
Oh yeah. So we're here to share the stories. We really focus on leadership tonight, but we would be nothing without the parents and the scholarship of the students themselves. So we had some really cool these actually were just delivered today. These are coffee table books for some of our scholars, and just some basic information. If you go to our Vimeo, we just released 4 films today. You saw 2 of them tonight that celebrate the journey that a lot of our scholars have been on. And so if you want to hear more stories and get in touch and just learn more, one of the coolest things we've done in the last few years was a graphic novel series with the families. And it's, you'll see it on our website. It's called If Girls. But there's a story of a young Pakistani alpinist entrepreneur. There's a story of a young doctor and then a master teacher. And they're 2-page graphic novels of our scholars' work. So that's available on our website with the films and the statistics. So yeah.
I think we are running out of energy here. So we'll thank you, CJ, for making the trip from Leavenworth.
Absolutely.
Okay, and wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll stay in touch. And thank you for all doing great work. And I really appreciate you coming here all the way from Queens.
No problem. Thank you all so much, and blessed Ramadan to all families. Thank you so much.
So now I'd like to invite Audrey and Amjad to take it from here from the Seed Collective Initiative, right? Please welcome them with salawat. You can use this mic and this other mic here.
Let's give another salawat to our guest speaker, CJ Carter, and an amazing work that he's doing. Well, I think there's a lot that we can learn from what Carter had to share today, and hopefully we can also apply some of that here within our community. We're trying to also do something where we're bringing together the young individuals here within our community and bring in new education, and have people share the knowledge that they have here. We're gonna have a brother tomorrow. His name is Yusuf Kababji. He's actually here today in the background. He's going to be giving a speech on real estate and talking about like the different strategies and different methods to do it, like what's the process and everything. So you're going to see an amazing program tomorrow when he does a speech. And we also have several other guest speakers that are going to be coming throughout the month of Ramadan, every Friday and Saturday, that will be covering different topics. And inshallah, we'll continue that type of energy and that type of program for even student speakers as well to get involved. And I'll have Audrey talk about some of the programs that we have today as well as tomorrow that we're going to do.
Yep. So tonight, if you guys are staying, which inshallah you guys will, Sister Haura here will do the book club tonight. It will be the first chapter of her book. So please stay. It's going to be downstairs in the library, and she's going to be hosting it for tonight. Also for next week, he mentioned there's going to be more speakers for next week. So on Friday, Amjad will be doing renewables, and I will be doing aviation. And for my speech or presentation specifically, I will have a raffle that it's going to be a flight for somebody to take a two-hour ground, 2-hour flight, but it'll be an opportunity for somebody that's interested in aviation, and that will be gifted to somebody very lucky for next week. So inshallah, I'll see you all next week.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And just to confirm, is it the 50 lessons on principles and beliefs for youth? That's correct. That's the book. Yeah. So that's going to be the book that they're going to be covering in the book club down in the library downstairs. Or if we have a smaller group, we might be able to do it upstairs here as well. So if you guys want to join that, it'd be great to see you. And then tomorrow, inshallah, as well, after Yusuf Kababji's speech on real estate, we're going to be doing a little game night. So if you want to have your friends and kids come and play some card games, learn this cool Iraqi game that we tried last week was Maghrebain. Did I say that right? Maghrebain? Yeah, it's like this really cool like ring game where you get to like challenge each other. It's pretty fun. But inshallah, we'll see you all, and thank you again. And I guess does anybody have questions about the program or anything like that, or while we have the chance here? The book title is 50 Lessons on Principles of Belief for Youth.
The author is Maghrebain.
Yeah, so they're just going to be covering like a chapter. They'll read it together and kind of like just sharing knowledge or like thoughts and insights on while they're going through the book.
The book they picked is Ayatollah Maghrebain Shirazi, right? So it's a good book to study, inshallah. Okay, let's actually end the program here with.
Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما